Well, good morning, folks, and welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us today. We get to interview Guy Giles again from Mutual Mortgage. Even though he's on vacation through the miracle of technology, he'll be joining us from across the Atlantic. Guy Giles is going to be updating us not only what's going on in the mortgage and financial worlds, but also we're going to start talking about the end of 2023. We're going to make some more predictions. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great interview. In the meantime, I want to check quickly on our local statistics. The three counties are changing. Let's start with Clamo County first this week. Prices year over year in single family dwellings are up in Clamo County. Prices are up 9%. Congratulations, Clamo County. That's up year over year. Average $336,259. The number of solds year over year in Clamo County for residential are down 42%, with 16 sold this week. Number of listings in Clamo County year over year are up 18%. So look at that. 2 out of 3 categories are showing pluses. Clamo County listings up year over year this week, 18%. There were 285 single family properties on the market this week in Clamo County. Jackson County prices year over year are also up. Jackson County is showing an increase of 2% year over year this week, with the average in Jackson County $498,452. The number of solds year over year in Jackson County are down 30%. We have 54 sold this week. That's single family dwellings. The number of listings in Jackson County are down 20%. There were 693 residential properties on the market this week in Jackson County. Josephine County has prices down only 2% year over year, just like Jackson County. The average in Josephine County this week, year over year, $428,072. The number of sold year over year in Josephine County are up 19%, with 25 residential properties sold this week. And the number of listings in Josephine County are down 8%. There were 367 single family homes on the market this week in Josephine County. So we're starting to see the signs of good news. We're going to talk about some of that with Guy Giles from Mutual Mortgage. Hope you'll stay tuned. It's going to be a great interview. Do not touch that dial. We're going to say a quick thanks to John L. Scott, Ashland, and Medford, local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, and Guy Giles Mutual Mortgage. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, Southern Oregon, to the Real Estate Show. We are so excited to have Guy Giles on the show again today from Mutual Mortgage. Welcome back, Guy.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Also super special thank you, because I know you're doing this broadcast from your your vacation. That's diligence for you, always on the job.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's it's always good to be here as far as that goes. Well, I say here, I'm over in Europe right now, I'll be honest with you. But it's the first time I've actually taken off in probably 2 years, other than maybe got on I-5 and gone to Talent, or maybe as far as Ashland. So I, I've been kind of sticking around town for a little while, not for any particular reason, just have been. So
Well, it's good to get away, shake out the cobwebs.
So I understand the smoke's kind of cleared out there, and then the last 2 days we've had it over here. So
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, and it's interesting because the smoke does affect how buyers and sellers feel, but it's definitely cleared up, and we actually had some rain. So it looks like our housing market is still rolling along here in Southern Oregon.
I'm still fielding phone calls, and I don't feel like anything has really slowed down while I'm gone. Actually, everybody's probably waiting for me to leave. I probably had my best week in a year and a half while I was gone. So um I can't complain at all. Other than I would really like a little bit lower rates, but that'll happen. We just don't know when. And
well, let's talk about the buyer pool that's entering the market right now. You're doing pre-approvals for people. Like what kind of jobs do they have? What kind of issues do they have? And what kind of properties are they looking for?
well, I've actually, if I think about my last 3 closings, they've all been people that have moved here. One of
Oh,
them a news anchor.
relocators from other places.
Yeah, one of them a news anchor. One of them, actually one of my favorite people now. She's running the Brit over there, and she's a
Oh, right. We had her
CEO.
on the
We
show.
did, yeah. And so we got her closed up last week, and then I have some other people. She's new principal over at Head Start, and so a lot of people moving to town. They're actually building a house over in Jacksonville, and I was skeptical, to be honest, about the house appraising, and we just got that back yesterday, and it was about $6,000 over. So
Wow.
things are holding steady. Um,
And that was new construction?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how does that work with mutual mortgage?
well, we have a really nice one-time close, and what's nice about it is with the rates, being weird. I mean, if I had to advise somebody, I would say by the time your construction loan closed, you'd probably be in a lower rate environment. But the way we do it is we close up front. So you approve, we give you a slightly higher rate, but we also give you the market rate when the thing is done. So just in case things go up, we have a little bit of a buffer in there for it, but we close. One of the issues with people that aren't doing it the way we are is they'll get all the way to the end 7 8 months from now and qualify for that loan, and either qualify or not qualify for that loan.
Well,
Well,
that's scary.
we're already closed and done. We still can manipulate that rate and give you, the lower rate if they're down at that time. But the nice thing is you're not worried the whole time if the Fed, decides to keep the country in turmoil for another 6 months or 7 months. Even though, again, I'll keep repeating it, they don't directly affect our rates, but all of
Um,
this is an overall sign of inflation, and
mhm.
we're still in an inflationary market. That having that in the back of your mind, that as a builder, my house is almost done, and I hope these guys are still good to go. Or a buyer, I don't really know what I've got. At least you have a bird in the hand, so to speak. Everybody's done. The realtors are taken care of. Everybody's good to go, and now they're just waiting on the house to finish being done.
So
But
that's really interesting because that's not how most construction loans work. And what I find fascinating about this strategy is that you're basically, are you paying, so you're paying off the land and the builder
yes,
and and the expenses, and then construction starts. So is that like a 30-day close?
yeah, it's just like a normal
Wow.
close. We got the appraisal back yesterday, so we'll be looking to close next week, and
Wow.
everybody will be ready to go. And because there's what they have contingencies in there, just in case there's overruns, something happens and it costs a
Right.
little bit more, they'll make a final adjustment at the end of it. In this
Mm.
this instance, they came up here and they bought the land, and that's now their down payment. They're actually I don't want to get too into the details about somebody's particular loan, but but the whole thing is just coming together really nice, and they're excited to break ground on the 22nd, I believe, is when the builder's actually ready to go.
How exciting. So and so that is like the best of both worlds, because in most construction loans, like you were speaking to just a minute ago, you close later when the house is done, and what if it doesn't appraise then?
Yeah, there's that. A lot of them are not fixed rate loans. A lot of them you're subject to finding the rate after the whole thing is done. And if
Mm,
something happens with your job, something happens, in the middle of this thing, who knows? So there's probably been nightmares. I haven't really heard about them because of the way we close ours. But I just can't imagine if you start out at a 2.7% rate and you get all done, and now you're either in an arm or you're in something that, well, you're not even really into it yet until you get there. So we have really good, fixed rate loans for these. And anyway, a lot of times it's kind of the way to go. People either find the house that they want or they don't. And I'm seeing
hmm.
more and more phone calls about construction loans. So
Well, that is so exciting because again, most construction loans, you're still waiting to the end to wrap everything up with the appraisal and that and the interest rate to some extent. So
yeah,
that could
and
that could be pretty dicey these days, huh?
Yeah, and if you're still in your house, we do have a way where we can, kind of finance in the payments while you're doing the construction, so you're not looking at two mortgage payments. So anyway, there's a lot to do with it, and it probably only applies to a small segment of everybody. So if you have questions about it, you're welcome to give us a call. But
Yeah, well, that's another interesting idea, though. You were saying that you have the ability to bridge that gap, so you don't have to sell your existing house first while you're building. Is that what you were saying?
yeah, but even more so, you still have a place to live in case you
Well, that
don't.
too. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to gloss over that part.
No, it's something that's important to think about because I mean, gosh, if you had to come up with your down payment and you're getting ready to, but you need to sell your house in order to do it, it's just one less thing to have to juggle as far as that goes. So
Hmm.
we have a pretty good program we've put together. And anyway, I've told people in my office that help me out with them that are really, really good. So
Wow. Well, that's super flexible. We're talking to Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage. We're talking about new construction, and we're talking about the ability to have a house built before you sell yours. Again, so Guy, that is just such not only convenient, but safe way to go. Is there something about that qualification that, how do you vet people so that they
well,
can stay in their house while they're building their other one?
Well, you still have to, you do still have to qualify for for them. I mean, the ones that I've had come up lately, these guys were moving to the area, so they're just in a rental right at the moment. But there's, a couple different ways that we can get creative. We can come in with, a little bit less of a down payment up front, but they want to make sure that you're covered, payment wise,
Mm-hmm.
that you'll have the ability to do it when the whole thing is said and done. So it's probably more of a conversation to have, one off with people as
Oh,
far as
sure. Yeah. It's
um,
just a fascinating concept, though, because I don't think
I,
that generally people get that opportunity.
well, then the only thing that's going to pull us out of the hole that we're in housing wise right now is construction. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
it's just a fact that we have to deal with. I don't want to see every pear orchard get tore out and houses built down there, but they really do need to figure out how we can build some more, or
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know or otherwise we're right where we are right now in the weirdest market ever, and we'll probably end up with some depreciation at the end of the year, and nobody would have really called that. But
Right, right. Because at the beginning of the year, they thought it was going to be going down.
yeah, and that's one thing that I keep beating into people. It's so much better to be in the game than out of the game. And,
Mm-hmm.
if you're waiting for houses to go down and rates to go down, you're just in a competitive situation where you're bidding up. And but we've talked about this, quite a bit over the last few months, but going in and being able to say, why don't you help me with a buy down for the next year or two while, we wait for rates to go down, or I'm going to give you or actually offer you 20,000 more for your house and probably won't get it anyway. That's not necessarily a better situation to be in. So,
Right,
you know,
right.
I'd be out looking, right now.
Because the other side effect of that, when you have a market that's too fast and buyers have to make the decision too quickly and overpay, they sometimes end up with homes they really aren't happy with, and then they end up moving again in a few years. So there's that benefit when the market is a little more normal. You have time to ponder and really assess if that property is right for you.
I can't even tell you how true that is. I guess you're a lot more on the front lines when it comes to that sort of thing than I am, so I don't see it as much, but you're right. And I see it on my end where I'll get the panicked phone call. I have to get this manufactured house in a park and it's only $900,000, but I better get it today. And I'm just like, you have a
Hold the
horse,
phone.
this is not what you were talking to me about yesterday. But
Yeah.
you feel rushed to get into something, and that's never a way to do it. And when people come back to me when they're, not finding the house that they want right off the bat, I'm just kind of like, look, let Alice get you set up. be on your search. Just look at these things casually at night while you're watching the Golf Channel or something. And if that right one pops up, do it. But a lot of times it's just taking off that urgency or that pressure. You tend to find houses that I wouldn't even have thought that they'd get. And it's always refreshing to just take that step back. And this is the market where you can actually do that a little bit, thankfully.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know, many of us make great decisions when we're really pushed and stressed, and buying a house, even in the best of circumstances, is somewhat stressful. And then if you have the added pressure of having to make the decision too quickly, and multiple offers create that's part of what sellers enjoy in multiple offer land, is having all that. So we only have about 30 seconds left before we have to take a quick break. How about you give people your cell phone number so they can reach out to you?
Yep, it's 541-944-6987. For about the next 6 days, I'm about 8 hours ahead of you. So if I don't answer my phone, I will call you by the time you're awake in the morning.
Or send a text. Yeah, but it's amazing that you're conducting business and enjoying your family, because you haven't had a vacation for quite a while, has it?
Now, some of this technology is actually not too bad. I mean, it follows you around, which isn't fun, and you get that little thing from your cell company every day saying you got 1 day less. And
Well, and you're doing the radio show from overseas. That's great. So, folks, we're talking to Guy Giles, Mutual Mortgage. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Well, hey, Southern Oregon, welcome back to the Real Estate Show. I'm Alice Lema. I'm a broker here in beautiful Southern Oregon with John L. Scott Real Estate and your host of the show. Just a quick reminder, we are brought to you by John L. Scott, Ashland, and Medford, our local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, and the guy we're talking to right now, Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage. Welcome back, Guy.
hey, thank you.
So as our in-house lender, one of the things we really enjoy about you is you bringing us up to speed about what's coming in the future. And during the break, you were mentioning something about student loans. What's going on with that?
Well, we're finally, after 3 years, we're back into the repayment phase. So I think they've extended this about 8 times now over the last 3 years, as far as people not paying them back. There's been back and forth whether or not the administration had the ability to forgive them, or I don't know. I paid mine off. That's all I know. You get a debt, you pay the thing. So I think that's where we are now. And they're basically, October was kind of the end of it. So September, people will have to start making payments on their student loans. We've already been factoring this in, even though they've been kind of on hold. We've been having to hit people. There's the 2 big guys that do most of the loans, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Fannie Mae makes you use 1% of it, of whatever loan amount. So if you have $100,000 in student debts, we would hit you with a $1,000 payment. Freddie Mac allows a 0.5%, so which is probably more realistic to what a payment would actually be. But so on that $100,000, you'd only have to hit them with $500. Really, what we want to do, even if they're deferred or whatever, we don't want them to all of a sudden wake up some September, like right now, and all of a sudden have to make a payment. And nobody anticipated it. So we've kind of been calculating these things all along, but it's something that is a real factor when it comes to people with student loans. So it looks like about 43 million people have student loans right now, and they've all just kind of been on hold. They haven't been hitting them with interest or payments for about 3 years. And they're, at this point, they're giving them a 21-day heads up, and they're going to have to start making the payments. The only thing that's a weird little nuance about this is the student loan, at least the federal ones, they're giving them a ramp up period of 12 months. So
what does that mean?
If you don't start making your payments in the next 12 months, they're not going to tell anybody. I don't know if they're going to do anything in the background with penalties or things like that, but they're not going to report late payments. They're not going to.
So it's not going to show up on your credit check?
Right.
Really?
Now, that said, I don't know if there's any ramifications in the background, with with, hey, now I have penalties of 5% per month. I really don't know. I can't speak to any of that stuff, but they are going to give them 12 months to kind of start making their payments and doing it before it's going to adversely affect their credit.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
I kind of don't know what to say. I'm speechless. Wow.
I I don't either. I mean, I read this stuff and I thought I had it all down. I was like, hey, everybody's gonna start making their payments. And then the next last little chapter was this little blurb about this thing where they didn't call it a sunset. They just kind of called it a ramp up. So
Huh.
I
Well, okay, so
so
how does that affect people's pre-approval or not
it
then?
it doesn't really. I mean, I guess if they come to us and they say, "Hey, it's March and we haven't been making our payments," uh, then we might have to address this. Uh, Sorry, I had something go off on my cell phone. I had to throw it out in the yard to make it stop making.
Oh.
So I'll have to find out a little bit later. It's dark out here now. Um, But anyway, it as far as just somebody coming in getting regular pre-qualified for us, it really shouldn't affect us too much as far as that
Uh-huh.
goes.
Well, it
So
sounds like you were kind of adding that in anyway during the hiatus, the student loan
yes,
suspension, payment
yeah,
suspension, I guess we'll call it.
yeah. We've been hitting them with it the whole time. There's the the student loans are just one of those weird things. All of them are just a little bit different. Like I had a dentist come in not that long ago, another person moving to town, and they were looking last week and literally on his payments because they understand that he's going to have a really high earning potential at this point. Depending on your degree, sometimes we don't even have to hit you with your student loan payments.
Oh,
So
wow.
in his instance, I know it sounds not right. I mean, to be honest, it just sounds not right. But it's just one of those ones that, I guess probably the banks just really want, or the GSEs, these government sponsored entities, the Fannie Mae's and Freddie
Uh-huh.
Macs of the world, they really want these people because they tend to earn a lot of money and be good clients for life. So not sure how that fits in with everything else we're trying to do with being fair to everybody, but it's a reality. And just the best thing to do is just come in and talk because there's a lot of different nuances with student loans and payments and deferments and I just the whole thing. There's a lot going on.
Deferments, that's what they were called. Yeah, yeah, student loan deferments. Okay, so those are going to kick back in. It sounds like we still have something of a grace period for those student loan people to get going again. And in the meantime, you guys didn't miss a beat because you were still allocating that monthly debt during this deferment period, which is so smart.
Well, and it all comes down to just good lending that's been happening
Yeah,
now since
yeah,
the crash.
yeah.
And, I know some people, will come in and say, well, why are you doing this to me? And I'm not talking student loans specifically, but with anything, last time I came in, I just went through the drive-through and I had my loan by the time I got done. And a lot of these things that we've been doing that that we weren't doing before are just going to make the market stronger. That's why nobody's anticipating a crash, even, with the higher rates, even with, unemployment, with different things that are going on in the economy. People that have loans for the most part are very well qualified because we did not go backwards on it. As far as like we did before. I mean, rates started going up in 2005, 2006, and all of a sudden we're adding in, and then all of a sudden we're letting the gal that is a waitress do a stated loan just like you would somebody that owns, another gal that owns a huge nursery or something that was writing a lot of things off and we'd had to do a stated loan for that kind of a person. Those just aren't out there. We're only really doing good loans at this point, and we have only been doing good loans for a long time. So
And that's
nothing's
another
good.
good point. And we keep trying to bring this up, you and I, that the lending environment, I guess we'll call it, is so different now than it was back in '05 to '09, depending on when your neighborhood crashed. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's something we're watching every week, but it's going back to the unemployment because mortgages are based on jobs pretty much, right? Wages and
Yeah.
jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then the supply of houses. And that's why we started this interview talking about new construction.
Absolutely. And again, I think that's the one thing that can bring us out of this. But I'm just kind of like, if you want to get into the right house and you're waiting for rates, or you're waiting for something, I think I was in one of the real estate offices the other day where I read, if you're waiting for the right house to come on the market, you're waiting for someone else to do your job for you. And that's from the real estate agent standpoint. But from the buyer standpoint,
Oh, that's an
um,
interesting
I
concept.
I
Stop
know
waiting.
it sounded kind of weird to me at the moment, but I just, I don't know that there has been really a better time, unless you knew somebody, a year and a half ago, that was going to sell you their house and you got that 2.6% rate. But for the most part, there was just such a frenzy. Like I can't say enough. It's just nice right now. I don't have trouble at all, you know, saying, hey, look, you're a little light on your closing costs. Ask them, obviously you want to lean on your real estate agent. You want to go about all that stuff on your own, but just ask for something, and people are getting it right now.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really interesting. And the appraisals are still coming in mostly at value. We do have a few coming in, 5 or 10,000 under, but in real estate money, as long as it's not $100,000 house, that 5 or 10,000, can pretty much be absorbed by the parties. And that was the problem we were having during the last spike of that really fast market is, things were not appraising, and that made it really hard on people.
no, appraisers, unfortunately, they're kind of they have to look backwards a little bit, because that's all they can really go off of is
Mm-hmm.
things that have already sold, for sure. And then you start getting especially like right now, where you're getting concessions and different things, those are getting written in. It's like, yeah, the house sold for $380,000, but they gave up $5,000 in closing costs. So I mean, there are still little nuances and things that
Or
go on.
more. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of a more normal market, which is kind of what you were saying.
Yeah.
There's a little more breathing room, and there's a little more give and take. I think it's more fair too, don't you? That these kind of markets are a little bit more fair to everybody.
I do. I mean, I remember not that long ago where you'd have a house where you're thinking, why is that on sale for $330,000? And you're like, okay, that was the strategy. They're going to put it in low and let everybody fight over it, and then tell everybody a week later, put in your highest and best. You don't know what you're competing against. You're just throwing some number at the wall, hoping that the whole thing works out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I wasn't really in that situation. But actually, I did buy a house during that situation. Um, but it was kind of like scary, because you don't know where you're gonna have to end up going, and then you offer 20,000 over, and all you do is beat yourself up for 5 years thinking, could I have got it for 5,000 over, or so
Well, then
I,
if you end up not really loving the house, and that's kind of where we started talking about that, because we're starting to get those phone calls where people bought during the shutdown. And it was good they did, because they made good money and they had a place to live, but now we're getting those phone calls.
yes, yeah. I'm already starting to see a lot of them, but especially a lot of these young people, I'm seeing them. They're coming in now looking to utilize some of the equity that they gained in buying investment properties.
Yeah,
So
that's super smart.
yeah, I mean, I'm starting to see that a lot lately.
Yeah,
So
well, we got to take a quick break. So let's hold that thought. We're talking to Guy Giles, Mutual Mortgage, and we're going to take a quick break from our other sponsors, John L. Scott Real Estate, Ashland and Medford, and our local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, also known as RVAR. This episode is going to be repeated tomorrow, Sunday at 6 p.m. Same station, KCMX News Talk Radio 99.5 FM. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with Guy Giles and more great conversation. Well, hey, folks, welcome back to the Real Estate Show. We're chatting with Guy Giles of Mutual Mortgage, and he's kind enough to do this broadcast from jolly old England. Thanks for joining us again, Guy.
Hey, well, thank you. I'm happy to be back. A little disappointed that my VBRO or whatever you call that happens to be in the flight zone, so I can't take my drone up right here and see what the actual landscape looks like. But
okay,
it's
always looking at real estate, even when we travel. That's pretty funny. It's like a sickness, isn't it?
It is. It is. My wife thinks I got way more than just one. So I guess we're talking about house prices. You were gonna.
Yeah. So, what about that idea back at the beginning of the year? The predictions were that the prices were going to go down.
Yes.
What about that? What do you think?
Well, I think it didn't happen. I mean, it might have for a minute, but by the time we're done with year over year, it sounds like we're going to be a little bit in the positive. And actually, I thank you for sending me these latest numbers because I did not have them with me. At least one of us is on top of it while I was running around the Wallace Monument in Scotland. But you know what? I really didn't think, even if they did go negative for a minute, that would last at all. We live in one of those places that everybody wants to be. And, yeah, we'll have our little fire season, every couple of years, and it's not fun at all. But overall, it is still one of the prettiest places. And, that's from a guy that's seen a couple other countries. And I think it's going to be good for the foreseeable future.
Well, it's really quite a difference. If you start looking, because this is September, so we're 2/3 of the way through 2023, and now the predictions are starting to shift, and it's really dramatic if you look at what everybody was saying at the beginning of the year versus now, and then we still have a few months to go. But to go from predictions of negative appreciation nationally to either steady or appreciation, and that's pretty common in Southern Oregon because it's a destination location. That's what we keep saying.
It's actually funny. So some of these ones that I'm looking at here aren't necessarily the exact same ones that I do. I don't know who this American Enterprise is that was thinking 20% decline this year.
But see, that's what made the headlines first quarter 2023.
Well, and they keep doing that with headlines on about everything. If you just think about common sense that there are a lot of people that need a house that don't have one right now, and there's just not the inventory out there, and it's not all that hard to look up. So that would just stand to reason that we're not going to have a 20% drop in housing prices, especially in some place like Oregon. Now, if you told me San Francisco dropped 15%, I'd believe you all day long.
In Portland, some of the big urban areas,
and even and that's politics aside and everything. That's just like, what if these clowns try to shut us down again? I mean, who wants to be stuck in a city where you can't even go to a park?
Oh, don't even say that. But you know what else? Those areas have a much higher percentage of commercial.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I don't know how much you dabble in the commercial thing, but I keep thinking that commercial is gonna be a really soft spot. And I don't know if they take some of those. I think a great business would be for somebody to take those. And I don't know if somebody else came up with this idea or I dreamt it, but take some of those and make them into some multi-unit properties, change the zoning on them a little bit. And that would give some people some places to be downtown other than just turning every freaking hotel into a homeless shelter. But I mean, like real places that people can rent or buy and
turn them into condominiums,
Yeah.
And it's interesting because a lot of the actual building structure of like our own mall, it's already got a roof. It's got a zillion bathrooms in all of these little little shops, and they could easily be 1, 2, or 3 bedroom condos
That's
and an
true.
escalator, so yeah. So if
Yeah,
you have trouble
hopefully.
getting around, I think that would be a great idea. We should talk to somebody about that.
It's so funny because dinosaurs like me, I still have a soft spot around Christmas for a mall. Don't know why. I remember going to the old mall where Tinseltown was, almost 30 years ago, probably now, and going shopping in there. And when that thing got tore down and they built the fancy one and then it flooded in 2000. And I mean, we've been a long way with the mall. Let's convert something else before we do the mall. But who knows? I mean, maybe the retail thing is done, especially if just come grab what you want comes to our area.
Well,
Who
and
knows?
the idea of getting in front of the commercial decline, because I'm with you, I think there is more brewing in that part of the housing sector is commercial real estate. And you do track the numbers, and it is quite dire in some of the big urban areas. And then there's the question, well, is it going to affect residential? And if so, when? But this idea of getting in front, like even just strip malls would be great, like little row houses. And again, I think condos, but you know,
I think so, and I think and again, it's just nothing I dive into. I don't do anything commercial, but I think that going south a little bit isn't necessarily going to crash everything or really hit our side of things that much, because that just means people are working from home. That doesn't mean I think that
we'll
those
see. And I
businesses
don't you think that
go in.
exasperated that whole commercial
I would
thing?
think, but the commercial people that I talk to swear it's fine. So that's
Well,
the
and
only thing I
around
can
here
really.
it might be. So yeah, we'll
And
have to watch that.
but just like I said with the housing prices, just logically, they're not really going to go down. Same thing with that. I don't know how the business side of the thing is sustainable as far as that goes. Small town, big town, whatever. The storefront thing, as much as I like going in them, and some of them will always be there. There's a lot of things that can be done online, and if you're having 12 people work at home, or work there, and you could have 8 of them working at home or 6 of them working at home, you don't need that much square footage. So then maybe you're reevaluating, and that's how it all happens. But um, I don't see it wiping us out on our end for sure. But it would be nice to have some of it maybe converted, because who in the heck wants a bunch of boarded up stuff? And that's just Portland.
Yeah, that's not good. It's not good for the community. It's not good for the buildings.
No, no, not at all. So I guess we need, I will not say progressive, but I'll maybe forward thinking people as far as in the planning departments and things, trying to come up with some ideas here.
Well, we'll
Um,
try to loop them in on the show next time we have you on. We'll see if we can get somebody to talk to us about that. We've just got a few seconds left. Guy Giles, Mutual Mortgage. How about you throw out your cell phone again?
yeah, it's 541-944-6987. And just you can call, ask questions for your kids, whatever you need to do. I'm just always happy to help.
Yep. And texting works great too.
Yes, I hate texting, but I will do it.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us again for the broadcast, Guy. You interrupted your vacation, but it's super great to have technology and to keep our listeners informed so they can make good real estate decisions.
Yes. Thank you very much. Have a
Well,
great
folks,
Saturday.
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, have a great Saturday.
Yep. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye now.